Welcome aboard. We have 2 exciting days in front of us, and it's my real privilege and honor to announce our first guest, first lecturer. He is, ladies and gentlemen, NBA champion in 2019, 2020, NBA Coach of the Year. Currently, he is also head coach of Canadian national team, but most of all, his career of basketball coach is inspiration for coaches all around the world. Why? Because his career pathway from university to Europe and then D-League and finally as assistant and head coach in NBA is something really inspiring and amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, please, warm welcome to our first guest, Nick Nurse.
Thank you very much. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be here. That was a nice introduction. I appreciate that. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Today we're going to talk about leadership and developing your coaching staff a little bit. I just want to say a couple things before I get started. Giving a number of talks today and tomorrow on different topics. If you have a question about something we're talking about, please raise your hand and get some clarity on it. I know we have a question and answer thing later this evening where you can ask me anything you want to, but in these sessions, try to just ask me if there's something up here you need some clarity, you don't understand, or I'm not teaching very well. Please raise your hand and ask a question, okay? I have a presentation to teach you some things that I hope you want to see, but I'm also more interested in hearing from you and what you would like to know, okay? So please feel free to ask questions, okay? I'm going to try to use my laptop here and get started. I might need some help here, so somebody be ready. Can we have the, okay, good. Many of you coaches, I read lots of books. I talk to other coaches. I visit other coaches. Everybody's familiar with John Wooden and his pyramid of success. I went to visit, among other people, I went to visit Phil Jackson. I went to visit Sean McVay, who's a football coach for the Los Angeles Rams. They just won the Super Bowl. I went to visit Joe Madden, who's a baseball manager, most recently Los Angeles Angels. And I went to visit Pete Carroll, who's also a football coach. And they all talked about developing a philosophy and having a vision. So I stole some of those ideas. I didn't want to do a pyramid, so I kind of built a Coliseum, as you can see here. And I put all the things that I thought was important to our team on this template, and then I went through it. But as you can see, I just want to go through some of them. I'm not going to go through everything. But as you can see at the top, expect to win is always our first belief, right? Whether we are home, whether we are away, whether we are healthy, whether we are injured, whether we are playing Sheffield Sharks in England or the Golden State Warriors in the NBA, we expect to win when we take the floor, always. Okay, I don't think you can win unless you can put that belief into your players. So it's always, every season, at the top of my Coliseum and my pillar. Okay? You can see the next one down was attack the title. This was year 2. This was after we won the championship. So instead of saying we're trying to defend our championship, we didn't want to talk like that. We wanted to make it more positive. We were going to attack it, act like we'd never won one before, and attack and try to win another one. Okay, this is, again, the night before training camp I'm showing this. Then you can see the pillars going up. That's all of our defensive pillars, which people ask me all the time, like, what's most important as a coach? Well, to me, your team is nothing if you don't play defense. Right? If you do not believe in defense and that defense wins and that you got to be able to coach defense if you want to really, really win. And it's not easy. Right? Coaching defense is not easy. So all the things we do defensively, which we'll talk about later, we change defenses, we run box and one, we play zone, 1-3-1, we do lots of trapping, we have lots of defensive schemes, but most of it is built on those 4 things. Okay? Ball pressure, gaps, shot, contest, rebound. A very wise NBA coach told me that defense, your level of defense comes down to how well you contest shots. Okay? So keep that in mind too. Get there. Anyway, I'm just showing you all the things that we go through here. There's a lot of things that the next level here explains our offensive system, right? This is our defensive system in 4 pillars. This is basically our whole offensive system. We focus on assisted baskets, right? We follow closely a shot spectrum of what kind of shots we want to take, which we go over a little bit later. And we talk about next action. When something isn't there, can we get to our next action? Okay? Just some other little things that are kind of slogans for the team. Only the fearless can be great. Right? We have no fear. Fear is spelled F-E-A-R. And in my first year, we used that as face everything and rise. Okay? Because our team had a little bit of a problem in the playoffs. We play very good in the regular season. We get to the playoffs, not so good. So one of the messages as a leader of the team and a vision was to concentrate on getting better, and that we would play our best basketball in April, May, and June. If you want to, you can. We play our best basketball April, May, and June, because we were going to be judged on how we did in the playoffs. It didn't matter if we won 45 games or 65 games or 55 games in the regular season. We were going to be judged on how we did in the playoffs. And you can just see some of the things around there as well that go in there. You may ask me, what is the elephant on there for? We used to at times in Toronto, we used to say hi to the elephant. So we would know that we were just going to tackle our problems. If there was something bothering the team or something we had to discuss, we couldn't wait. We had to do it immediately, handle it. I have an elephant in my office that's sitting in the corner, and when the players knock on my door and come in, they pick up the elephant, put it on the desk. I know they want to address a serious problem, but it's kind of a nice little icebreaker, right? It's a nice way for them to be able to get to the tough problems. There's some other things on there, but I think you get the idea. I'm going to try to move this thing along just a little bit, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is every season. This changes a little bit, right? This is another year, right? So maybe year 3, maybe year 4. I can't remember, but again, expect to win. And then we had as our second pillars, world leaders for social justice. Our team and our organization has players from all over the world. Our front office, and people from many different countries. Our coaching staff. I try to hire people from different parts of the world. And we were really good as an organization, and we wanted to make sure that was right next to winning, right? That playing to win was still number one for us. That's how we get judged. But we were going to impact social justice. I always talk about energy. I mean, this game takes a lot of energy, right? The team with the most energy wins a lot. And I always say you're either giving energy or you're taking energy. So you got to be a giver, especially coaches. Like we can argue and talk in our room, but once we walk out onto this floor, all the coaches, tremendous energy givers. Okay? And we started a thing called the shooting lab. We'll let Coach talk about that. He's coached some good shooters. Again, the defensive pillars, pretty much the same. We added one in the middle there, steals. Okay? I know it's pretty simple stuff, but these are the things that we really, really, really emphasize and hold them accountable for. Again, you can see the offense, and then you can see one more slogan. We got to make it okay. A lot of times when you lose a couple games in the NBA, there's a lot of pressure, and everybody tries to act like it's going to be okay. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. And I say, yeah, if we make it okay, it'll be okay, right? So we got to make it okay is a slogan. And then this year we had to do May, June, and July. I can't remember why. It must be because of the pandemic, the season was off. I've had 4 seasons in Toronto. One was a regular season. We won the championship. The next season was in the bubble in Orlando. The next season our team moved to Tampa, Florida, played, no fans. And then last season we had back to Toronto about half season of fans. So that must have been year 3. Okay? Okay, and this is one thing I always ask the players every year too. I get a lot of credit, whether I deserve it or not, for being creative, right? Doing things that other people won't do or don't believe you can do. So this starts by asking the players before the first practice to have an open mind. That I tell them we're going to do some things maybe you've never done before. And I know that because I don't even know what they are going into the season sometimes. Like some of these things you'll see up here, obviously the box and one that we ran, I think the first time ever in the NBA playoffs, ran against Steph Curry. Coach? Yeah, okay. He is worthy of a box and one, right? There's some other things up there. I don't even remember some of these things, to be honest with you. I remember let it rip in the middle. We were in Golden State for game 4. Game 4, and one of the players went up on the board. We had all our scouting information, who's guarding Curry, Thompson, Durant, Green, all these guys, and all these things, and one of the players wrote really big on the board, let it rip. Okay, I love that. I think if I could describe my leadership style letting the coaches coach and letting the players lead, right? Very democratic. I was very lucky to go to school. I went to university at the University of Northern Iowa, and there was a coach there named Daryl Mudra, who was an American football coach and was way ahead of his time. He wrote a book I really recommend that you try to get. It's called Freedom in the Huddle, and I learned a lot from him back when this is, the mid-'80s. It really sent me on a journey of studying human performance, sports psychology, leadership styles, things like that. So I was very fortunate to have him in my corner. He's a friend of mine. I got to know him. He's one of my mentors. And anyway, so I asked the players to have some of this open-mindedness. Again, it's just to start the discussion for them. NBA players sometimes need to be communicated with. Everybody does, really, very clearly. And this is part of why I do it. And there's just this saying right here for me. This is what drives me to do things differently. Because there's sometimes I see something happening in basketball, or I see something happening with my coaching staff, and I say to myself, there's got to be a better way to do it. There's got to be a better way to teach it. There's got to be a better way that they can learn faster. Got to be a better way that they can comprehend more. And that's what starts our process of trying to find a better way to do it. Okay? I want to talk a little bit about my coaching staff. Okay? I have a big coaching staff. I told Coach on the way over here, I have 13 assistant coaches. Sometimes they're harder to coach than the players. It's a lot of them. Okay? So we have a clear line between our kind of game coaches and our development coaches. So I have one coach, Jim Sand is his name. He's been in the NBA for about 30 years. He's in charge of our player development coaches. And like you guys, I don't think it's much of a surprise to you for me to tell you that our player development program goes 12 months a year. It seems to be a big surprise when I say that in the NBA, right? People will say to us, oh, you guys are so good at player development. You had Fred VanVleet, undrafted. You have Pascal Siakam, draft 27, who's all-NBA, all-star. You have, goes on and on, Norman Powell, who's drafted second, who's player. Scotty Barnes, rookie of the year. You have very good player development, and they say, why? And the first thing I say is, it's 12 months a year. 12 months a year. Like they're on a program all the time now. There's some built-in weeks of rest, but that's planned. But they're working 12 months a year. That's the first thing. So I got about half of my staff is in player development. That's what they think about and do every single day. Okay? The other half are my bench coaches, and I just want to talk about one thing I learned being an assistant and one thing I changed being a head coach. So in the NBA, a lot of times, a lot of staffs will have the head coach. They'll have assistant number one, and let's say he's in charge of defense. They'll have assistant number two, he's in charge of offense. And then they'll have assistant number three, who's maybe in charge of scouting the opponents or whatever other thing coach wants. One of the things that I wanted to change when I was a head coach was I did want somebody to be in charge of defense, somebody in charge of offense, but I also wanted somebody in charge of special teams, out of bounds, end of game, all those kind of things, right? But every 10 games, they switch. Okay? Every 10 games. So 10 games, and then they just move, and they do that every couple times a year. Why do I do that? One, when I was an assistant, I was in charge of offense only. Okay, just offense. And by the way, I'm a much better defensive coach than I am offensive coach, but I was in charge of offense. And we would be in these big discussions with the head coach about who should play, etc. Well, I was fighting for the best shooters, right? I wanted the best shooters to play, so my offense was good. And the defensive guy wanted to play the guys who couldn't shoot but could play defense, which right away, immediately didn't make sense. As the head coach, I want objective opinions. I want the best opinions, not the best for that coach or for that side of the basketball or whatever. So that was the first thing I did, was rotate the coaches. That's one reason. But the second reason is I see my job as a head coach is to make my assistants become head coaches. So they need to be able to coach all facets of the game. So that's another reason. And that's another reason I in practice, I normally am the referee. I like to referee. Okay? And my assistant coaches coach the teams. Okay? When we practice, we almost always, I'd say 90% of the time, if we are playing full court, there is a score on the scoreboard and there's clock running. Almost always. So someone has to ref and someone has to coach. So it gives them experience of coaching timeouts, making subs, drawing plays, motivating the team, calling defenses, and I'm trying to give them experience. And I'm pretty proud to say that when I was in the minor leagues, most of my guys went on to become head coaches. I've had a couple guys come on to be head coaches in the NBA as well. You'll probably see them here someday at the clinic in the future. Okay? So that's one thing as well. Okay, I'm just going to show a couple more things on here, and then I'm going to move on from here, okay? So this is our shooting lab, right? You can see that it's, you see they're all motion capture, right? And this is all Steph Curry's fault too, coach. Basically, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to figure out how these guys can use their bodies more efficiently so they can shoot from here, right? These big guys, that's Scotty Barnes, that's Precious. Dragic, you guys probably recognize there, and Kem Birch. But we're just trying to figure out how these guys can use their bodies more efficiently. But this is not. How many of you here? I'm going to ask a question. Teach shooting to your players. How many? Raise your hand. Teach shooting. It's hard, right? To teach shooting. For some reason it's hard to teach our players, and to ask them to do all this stuff isn't easy. Put on this suit with all these things and on these things on their head and all this stuff and get all this information. It's part of why we ask them, to be open-minded, and we put it up there as one of our main pillars to have the shooting lab. Okay? But keep teaching shooting. Coach, you taught Steph how to shoot, right? Best shooting coach in the world right there. Make sure you ask him about shooting when he gets up here, okay? Okay, I'm going to keep moving here. I'm going to show you a couple more things. This is another big idea we had last year, was the eagle. right? We like starting our defense, getting our players to use their length. We used to just say, show your length. And then we started calling it eagle. So when we come down the floor, you'll hear our coaches yell, eagle, eagle. So all the players, those are two pretty good players right there, Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry. And we score and we chart this stuff, right? Like every time down the floor, right, there's going to be a moment where they can turn and get ready to play. So let's say in a game it'll be 75 times VanVleet will be on a defensive possession. So the next day in film, he's going to have a score out of 75 how many times he showed his eagle. He usually could be about 73. Him and Lowry both 95%, almost always. We have some players that say, I'm not doing it. But those two guys are good. We put it accountable. We put it on the board before we show film. Their scores. We let it stay in there before any of the coaching staff comes in, and they talk about it amongst themselves. So they can say, you got to do better at your Eagles. Probably see a few other guys in here as well. But this was a main emphasis for our team this year, right? You see Mark Gasol, Freddie VanVleet. Again, it's just for us, it's just a real readiness, real thing to show us that you're ready. It looks really cool. When all your players are down doing that, it looks cool, I think. And it also shows the other team, your team is ready to play defense. That they are ready. And they got to hustle back and they got to get ready to take up more space. Okay? Let me show you everybody. Okay. I'm going to get out of that for a second. Can I have my back up here? Okay, I just want to show you a couple more things real quick. Okay? I want to show you one video here. I don't know if we're going to get the sound on this. Are we okay for sound? We are? Okay. I'm just going to show you one thing here that I did with the team just to break it up here to talk about our offense. Okay? And then I want to talk a little bit more about developing your coaching staff with some tools that we use as well. Okay? Anybody know Thelonious Monk? Anyone? One person up there? Thelonious, two, there's some, okay. Thelonious Monk is a piano player. He's a jazz musician from, I don't know, like the 1950s, 60s. Okay? I like to play the piano. I'm not very good, but I like to play. It's fun for me. But I put together a clip for the team to tell them this is, like, to me, offense is kind of like music, right? There's a group, let's say, of 5 people, right? Like there is in basketball. And we do have a song or a song sheet or a structure that we're going to play to, right? But what Thelonious Monk did was every now and then he'd just totally leave that thing, leave that song, that hymn, that sheet, whatever, and do his own thing. And that's what I believe in the NBA. That we'd have an offensive system created that was, there's some structure to it, but we'd have to leave time and space for something spectacular. That the players could show what they could do outside of the structure. Right? And so, good. I hope you like this. I haven't watched this for a while, so I hope you like it. It's like 3 minutes long. I'll just let it play, and you can at least learn who Thelonious Monk is. Do you want to come up just one more time real quick, just to make sure it's on the full screen before we hit play? Yeah. You can start it whenever you get it on the full screen. You just push the play there, and let's hope it works.
Traffic has a bad
His three-pointer is up. Two threes by Lopez. Lowry with Van Vliet out there. Screen by Gasol. Driving. Lowry spinning. Gasol back to Lowry. Lowry downhill out to Van Vliet. Pump fake and a drive. This is Lowry, an open three-pointer. Cuts it loose and hit it.
When you're in the gym and you're working on your craft, you just can't leave a guy wide open.
An 11-3 run for Orlando. Van Vliet
and Siakam were on the court on Saturday for 3 minutes and 37 seconds against the Knicks. The Raptors were plus 11 with the
Lowry now played by Connaughton, who just checked back in. Gasol changed his mind. Siakam.
That break opportunity slowed down and waiting to drop off the ball.
10-2 run here by the Lakers. Powell for late. The defense just not as sharp. And for this team, it's paramount, particularly with the down in numbers and margin of error a little slimmer. Now the Wizards are picking up their effort.
Yes, they are.
Concerns about defensively, but they've been rock solid here thus far.
Ibaka drives. Ball is moving. Powell in and taking his crowd out of it. Doing a good job shooting the ball.
Open look for Pascal.
Plus 8 rebounds, plus 6 assists. But it's still Toronto by 11. Lowry for 3.
Crab is a streaky shooter. He knocks down 1 or 2. It can be 4 or 5 in a heartbeat.
Well, this is, I think, the other thing, too, that you...
3 on the nuts. Now Ibaka straight away. Hand off to Powell. Powell screen by Ibaka. Driving on front. Ibaka straight away. Out to Van Vliet between the rings. Screen by Ibaka. Van Vliet down the lane. Kick it out to the corner. Powell's got a look at a 3.
Nice. Clap. Thelonious Monk. You can check him out. That was good. So that was a challenge to do, right? Because again, that is I mean, again, I'm talking to NBA players and I'm walking in for the first time as a head coach day one and showing them a guy playing the piano. They're thinking, first of all, they don't know who I am anyway. They're like, who is this guy? What is this guy doing here, right? I just come from a small town in Iowa, and there I am up there, and I'm showing them this just again to be creative, show them that we're going to do things differently, that I think, try to think differently. And again, it's part of the reason I play music. I just mentioned I play the piano, I play the guitar as well, and I take lessons. People say that learning a language or learning music sparks creativity, and I do it for my job. I hope that I can stay creative for my coaching job. So I play the guitar, play the piano, and plus it relieves a lot of stress for me in coaching, etc. But again, I'm just trying to give you some ideas of things you can show your team. I want to talk one thing about your something you can show our staff here too, okay? This one is interesting. This one is interesting. If I can call this up here. Where's my girl? I thought I was doing pretty good with this. This one may not come up. This one here? Yeah. That's why. Okay, you want to just leave it like that or not? That's good. It's okay. You can leave it like that. Yeah, this one's okay. Okay, I know later in another session I'm going to talk about end of games, but this is more what I want to talk about with coaches, okay? And this would be a challenge I will throw to you as well before we leave. So when I left the British Basketball League to go coach in the NBA D League at the time, now it's called the NBA G League, I had to adjust to the different style of play, right? Different style of play, learn different rules, lots of things. So my first year back from England didn't go that good, right? Didn't go that good. I think we were 23 wins, 27 losses or something like that. But one thing I realized in the NBA and in the NBA D League was there was a lot of close games. I felt like every night with 2 minutes to go, the game was going to be decided in the last 2 minutes. So when our bad season ended, I got my one coaching friend. I had one assistant back then, and went to my house. I was living in Iowa, where I was from, coaching this team. We just started as an expansion team, and there was 4 things we were going to do a lot better. One was player personnel. We didn't have any idea how many players would be coming and going. We had to get better and have a depth chart when somebody would leave to go to Europe or China or get called up to the NBA. We had to be better there. We had to create an offensive system that was easy to learn and very concise, because we'd get players dropped on us on a Thursday and they'd have to play on Friday or Saturday. Same with the defense. We needed an offensive and defensive system that our players could learn really quickly and go out there and execute. And the third thing was we were going to be great at end-of-game situations. So we sat down in my basement of my house most of the summer, and we tried to think of every single possibility, every single scenario we could see. So this one is called tie game. Game is tied. We're on offense. It's our ball. And we tried to break it down into 34 to 44 seconds left. And so we're on offense, and then it's where the ball was. Out of bounds. Full court, side, underneath. And then you can see how we just move the times. 10 seconds to 24. 5 to 10 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds. 0.3 to 2.9 on all those situations, and we just talked out what we were going to do, and we wrote it down. Okay? So you can see, get offensive substitutes in. Number 8 is the call the play, right? It's good versus pressure. Consider that going 2 for 1, all those kind of things. Anyway, that part is not, and then we just go to the next one. Tie game defense. Same scenarios. Almost always all the same scenarios. Up 1 on offense, up 1 on defense. You can see this is going to go on and on. Down 1 offense, down 1 on defense, up 2 on offense, up 2 on defense, down 2. Just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Up 3, down 3. There's literally, I don't know, I've never counted, 150, 200 scenarios on there. And why am I showing you that? I show it to all my assistant coaches. And you know what they all say? You want to know what almost every coach I've ever shown that to says? Can you forward me that? And I say, hell no. I've given you that. It took me like 3 months of one summer to go through, and we go through it all the time and make changes because things change and our ideas change and whatever. But the point is, now I've shown you, and you have to do your own. You have to do your own, because that's the only way it's going to make sense to you, and the only way you're going to learn it. And my answers aren't right for you, or you, or you, or you. My answers aren't right. Those are my answers that I feel in my gut that I'm going to do. And if you ask me one, I'm going to tell you, because that stuff happens fast. You guys like couple other things on this. we'll get to this later too, but did any of you watch our team play in 2019 when we won the championship? Do you remember when Kawhi Leonard hit the shot that bounced, and went in? For Game 7, I think that was, wasn't it? Game 7 against Philly. Okay? And first of all, they asked me going into Game 7, you know, the media is like, right? They have this special room, and it's just like, about like this. There's media everywhere, right? And they asked me before the game, what does it feel like? You're a rookie coach going into your first Game 7. And I said, Coach, feels just like 1996 to me when the Birmingham Bullets from England were playing the London Towers for England for the British Championship. Because at that time in my life, it meant the world to me. So it feels just the same. And come on. And I said, it does. I was really, really excited for both opportunities. The same. Different times in my life, but the same. Anyway, so that last play, we have to draw it up. The ball goes out of bounds, and maybe divine intervention, but I grabbed the board, no hesitation, boom. We had a totally different lineup in because we were playing big against Philly. So 4 guys were not in the spot they normally would be in. The only one person who was in the spot was Kawhi Leonard. He was coming off for that shot. All the other 4 people were in different spots, but boom, 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 boom. Just draw it, boom, boom. 20 seconds. They're out. Calm, for me, calm, confident, clear, so the players can be calm and confident when they go out there. But why? Well, I think, 1, divine intervention. 2, I'm like you. I sit around and I draw those plays, I don't know, 500 times. I sit on my lazy boy watching games, and I got my iPad and I'm drawing plays. It'd be silly to draw that play in front of 20,000 people, millions watching on TV in Game 7 of the NBA playoffs for the first time, or for the 5th time, or the 10th time. It was probably the 1,000th time I've drawn it. And they told me all the plays I used in England and in Iowa and in Texas wouldn't work in the NBA. They're the same plays. They're the same plays that I was using. So again, just practicing to do that. But anyway, this is a staff builder. If you want to build for your staff, it's a great project. Get your coaches together, you and your assistants, and start going through these things. And some of them, as you can see, are very similar, right? Very similar. We have some strong beliefs and some things. This one must be tie game here. Let me just check. Down 2, we're going for a steal, right? We put a lot of pressure on and go for those steals on defense. Okay? All right. You guys can look at all the stuff I have up. A lot of recordings and such. Okay? Anyway, I'll just put that down for a second. Okay. One last point, and then I'll open it up for a couple questions. Okay? So we have 2 goals every year that we start with. One is to win. Right? I'm talking to this side a lot. I'll try to go over here a little bit more. Okay? 2 goals. One is to win. Hi, Coach. Right? One is to win, and 1A is to increase everyone's value in the marketplace. Let that one get to you for a minute. Okay, so that means our players. And for me, I was lucky. I had a lot of training. I had a lot of training and jobs where everybody that played for me didn't really want to be there. Or they all wanted to be. When they were in England, they were trying to get to Belgium or to Italy or to Spain. When they were in Iowa in the NBA D-League, they were trying to get to the NBA. So my whole life was trying to help players move on, move up. Right? So we talk about that with them all the time. That again, our player development program. We think it's, well, we know we work really hard. We'd like to think we work harder than anybody, and we think it's really good. We got really good, experienced coaches. We cover all facets from sports psychology to nutrition to sports performance to shooting to skill development for 12 months. We've got a great track record now, so when they come in from day one, they listen. But we're trying to help them, well, now go from a 1-year contract to a 4-year contract. Go from 8th man to starting, go from starting to all-star, go from all-star to a max contract. Trying to help them, and we've always done that. We had something like 23 players called up when we were coaching in the D-League, like the next closest team had like 6, right? Tried to move some guys out of England on to better jobs. I'm lucky that was part of my coaching, part of my training, I mean. And the same applies for my coaching staff, right? I believe in the same for them. How can I improve their value in the marketplace? What can I do to help them? I mentioned rotating them, get them to become the coach. I push a lot of them out the door. Sometimes I've my last three G League head coaches have been my assistants at the Raptors. It's nice at the Raptors, very nice. Push them down to become head coaches so they can get head coaching experience in Latin. Well, one of them just went. The one that was there last year just went to the front of the bench for the Phoenix Suns. The one before that just went to the front of the bench for the Golden State Warriors. So we're proud of that. Like I tell them, like their assistant coaches too long, they need to get in front of a team and run a team. I believe in that. Yes, sir. You can, 100%. Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's okay.
Okay. I'll just kind of repeat. I'll repeat. So, thank you, by the way. Coach asked, how did you handle, well, coaches maybe that were there that you didn't necessarily hire, high maintenance coaches? I tell you what, there's a lot of high maintenance coaches, right? So here's what I say. Again, I try to, so let's say you were on my staff and I came in and you were maybe my front office, maybe my president wanted to hire you. Said, you got to take this guy. And that's common. That's common in the NBA now, where it used to be the coach, hey, I want him, or whatever, and he got this. And but now it's kind of a work together process. So I would, first and foremost, I would ask you, what do you want to do? What are your goals? Okay? And you're going to tell me about 9 out of 10 say, I want to be a front of the bench. I want to be on the front of the bench, assistant coach. And 3 out of 10 might say, I want to be head coach. Okay, but most of them want to be front of the bench. It's a great job. Right? So I said, okay, here's where I see you now, right? Here would be the plan forward. You know, maybe I would say, let me get to know you first for 1 year. We'll see how it is. I give you very specific role, give you checkpoints. I'll show you one other thing here in a minute that I do evaluation, right? And just try to communicate with you and try to get you where you want to go. Now, if you're a pain in the ass, right? We'll talk about that too, right? We will. We'll talk about. My problem usually is they all want to go too fast. right? They come in, I'll hire a young, we talked about this morning, coach. Hire somebody right out of college. They'll start in our film room. They'll be doing film, and then they'll move to the player development, and then after 2 years or 3 years, they're 25 years old and they want to be on the front of the bench. That's usually the problem. They want to move too fast, and my job is to try to redirect them. I send a lot of them down to our D-League team so they can actually coach, scout games and do more than just film or player development. They can actually scout. They can make some decisions. And I just try to grow them. Listen, I believe in my path. And my path was I was a head coach at the age of 23 for 20 years. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. But I wanted to coach. I loved coaching. I loved all those jobs. Derby, England. I loved it. Birmingham, England. Rio Grande Valley, Texas. Enid, Oklahoma. Des Moines, Iowa. Where else was I? Brighton, England. I loved all those jobs, and I was just experimenting and trying to get better. And I encourage everybody. And listen, you can look at my resume, and there's 15 jobs on there, but there's another 20 that aren't on there. I guarantee you. Where else? I coached the summer league in Treviso. First year they ever had summer league in Treviso, I called up Maurizio and begged him to be a coach. He gave me a team, coached down there 2 weeks. I went to Long Beach, California. Nobody knew who I was. I sat in the crowd one summer helping. Anybody need any help? Anybody? And one summer, one coach didn't show up. They gave me a team. Coached Adidas Nations in Treviso. I coached Adidas Nations in Houston. I coached Basketball Without Borders. Anytime I could camp here, camp there, get some experience to try to put together my beliefs on leadership, my beliefs on building chemistry, playing defense, passing the ball, as a head coach, I do it. Am I answering your question worth a darn? A little bit? Okay. Sorry. All right, wait. I want to show one more thing real quick, okay? Is my time up? Almost? Okay. Good question, though. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm not sure here. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, I just want you to look at this real quick. And I think this is important. Again, this is just an idea for you. You can make your own if you want them. And this is a coach's performance ratings thing that I do with my staff. And there's, I think, 7 areas that I ask them to grade each other on. So it's anonymous, no names. You have to grade yourself, and they just write them in there, right? Can you read those? And there's some good ones on here. Okay, work ethic obviously comes in, and we try to explain them in a short sentence. There's a big one here, coaching philosophy. I don't mean their coaching philosophy. I mean coaches in alignment with our philosophy. So these are all my assistant coaches. And just first, so all the coaches, all 13 of them, grade each other and themselves, and I don't know who's doing what. Okay? And this thing is awesome to see the scores of what they think of each other in all these certain areas, and to see, coach, I can see who the pain in the asses are. Right? When these scores come back, you can see there's 1 or 2 issues, or maybe it's just between 1 or 2. 5, 1. Right? One problem with one other coach or something, and then some of them, yeah, coaching philosophy 1, 2 means they're not on board with us. Serious talks like. Again, I won't mention any names, but I had one this year, and I can't tell you how many hours of meetings with him since I got that back, trying to decide if I'm going to keep him, if he can get on board. right? So we're still trying to figure that one out. All right. Good. Any other questions? I think I'm just about out of time. What time is it? 10:06. I'm late. Any other questions before I hang up? Anyone? We okay? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for this amazing introduction.